Welcome back, everyone. This is Dirch, and I am back to go over Gaige's comms. But before I dig into that, I wanted to just do a little bit of cleanup from the previous video, from reading the comments. There was two things really that I noticed the most complaints about, and I wanted to kind of get in and address those. So, the first one that you guys took issue with, well, the biggest one, was with claws, and I may have not worded this the best. You know, when I go on for 2 hours, I can make mistakes in my phrasing. I didn't mean that melee is not viable with her, but I particularly take issue with Gearbox always trying to work melee into non-melee characters. And I truly believe, and this is subjective, so you can obviously disagree, I don't think Gaige is a real melee character. Definitely not like Krieg or Zero, and they do this in the pre-sequel with a lot of characters too, not all of them, but with too many of them where they just kind of work in a few melee skills to maybe make them good enough. You know, Maya's got a few, and Axton has a few, and Salvador has a few, and even in OP8, like, you can make melee Maya work. Like, I was playing around with it, but I didn't take it too seriously, but like, viewed it a little bit more of it and made it work. I've seen people do melee Accident, melee Sal. You can make it work, but it doesn't mean it's great. And I just think Gaige would have been better served taking that out of the equation for her. And, you know, Damonite did a melee melee Gaige, and there was some raid kills that I wasn't aware of, so I totally missed those because I kind of said you wouldn't use that for raiding or a lot of stuff. So it's viable, but I still kind of stand by that it's not good, even though it's viable. And again, this is subjective, but my reasoning because of this is you see so few people using that capstone going down there, and I don't have the numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if you would take the in-game data of like 1,000 Gaige players, and the percentage of them that use with claws on a regular basis would probably be well less than 5%. And I have no data to back that up. That is just purely me speculating, and I want to be clear about that. But I think it's severely underused because I don't think it's all that great. So yeah, I want to just go over that. But I'm not saying it's not viable, and I'm not saying you can't make it good. I'm just saying it's underwhelming, and she could have been served better with other things for that capstone, and kind of take away her melee stuff and focus more on, you know, give Death Trap better melee stuff or better secondary skills or all that stuff. And I thought a little bit more about that capstone, what I'd like to see instead. And I came back to thinking about Jack and his center capstone tree. And if you would do something with claws in here, take away the melee thing, and use it more of like an anarchy to support, maybe it'd be OP, but have like a secondary effect on it at least, where when you die, you maintain your accuracy stat or your anarchy stacks. Maybe you still slowly lose them while you're in fight for your life, but you don't lose them all when you die. And I think that will be really powerful. And then you can put on some secondary effects on it. Maybe like working in, you know, some more anarchy stacking, or you get another 50 anarchy stacks, or I don't know, it wouldn't have to be anything super powerful, but more like a support capstone that just makes anarchy better. Because one thing that really sucks when you play Gaige is you go down and all of a sudden you're at 0 stacks. And, you know, if you're let's say you're running the peak with 4 friends, and like it just goes bad and you guys lose. Like, it happens to the best of us. Now everyone's got to go back and let Gaige pre-stack again so you can go run the peak again. Like, that's not good. You know, it's not friendly. It's it's a it's a bad experience for co-op. And yeah, it would be a lot better if she had a way to do that. And I understand losing them all when she goes down, but if you could use a capstone to override that, as well as a few other kind of things, I think that would be something that's way more widely used. I'm not saying that would be the only thing in the capstone. That'd be like a support section of it. But if you had a few things just to like help maintain and get anarchy faster and don't lose it as much, and that would also help like Discord looping and stuff like that. If you just lose anarchy stacks less and fight for your life, or when you die, or gain them faster, or even raise the stack count maybe, or lower the accuracy penalty, or there's a bunch of things you can do there I think would be more creative. But that's enough rambling on that. Next one that I think I got the most comments was Cooking Up Trouble. Now, I said Cooking Up Trouble, in my opinion. I'm just going to put one. Actually, I'll go to 5 and just take that comm off. What I said here is I don't think this number is high enough, and that's why some people skip it. I usually try to get it because I like it. But because it's conditional, I stand by that 2% is too low. Like, sustenance is up to 2% based on your health, and that's always on, no matter what. This is not. And outside of combat, in between mobs, it'll help you get back to full when you run to the next area. That's cool and that's awesome, and I really like that stuff. But within combat, these kind of skills are really good for fighting dots. That's why I like them, because dot damage, especially in higher levels, are really scary, and they can rip you down fast. And if someone hits you and gets rid of your shield, and you have a dot on you, you're pretty much fucked. Or if you have a small capacity shield like the Sham or something, you can be fucked. You kill that last enemy, and you have a dot on you, and it kills you, and then you have no chance for fight for your life, and you lose all your anarchy stacks. That blows. What can help that is always on. So this, without it being always on, it's just not as good, and because of that, I still stand by it should be a higher number. Do I still like the skill? Yes. Do I still try to grab it in every build? Yes. But I see a lot of people skipping it for those reasons. And that's what I was trying to portray there. I saw a lot of people kind of disagree with that. There are some other things here and there, but those are the ones I got the most comments on, so I wanted to address those. So, all that being said, I will start the class mods really shortly here. Alright, so let's talk about the class mods now. First one we have is the Legendary Necromancer. This is quite different from a lot of the standards, and part of it kind of has to be by limitations, but she only has one passive on it as a cooldown rate, although that 47% is pretty damn good, because Death Trap's got a 60-second cooldown here, so nearly 50% brings that down to nearly 30 seconds, and in a first-person shooter, that is a lifetime. Now, skill-wise is where it gets weird, and most of the characters just have it across the top, but because of Anarchy, you can't boost that. It kind of messes that up. But in the pre-sequel, sometimes they would go top and bottom on one side. But Gaige here, I mean, they can boost pre-shrunk, but it looks like they didn't want to. And you really can't boost blood-soaked shields. So it kind of became a weird one to put two skills into this tree. So instead you have 3 skills over here. Now this one's weird too, because Close Enough isn't boosted by anything, and the way it's built you can't really boost it. So they went top and bottom here, and then all the way down to the cooler. So skill-wise, Cooking Up Trouble. Now, as I said, I thought 2% was a bit low. Well, this boosted at 4% is really awesome. The better half, this boosted up to 120% is absolutely insane. So that's really awesome for DPS. So far we have cooldown, survival, and DPS. I like the diversity. 20% cooler. Another 60% cooldown rate. That is excellent. Although these are additive boosts, but yeah, it's going to really bring down that cooldown percentage. More pep. This is, for Gaige, it's not bad. Although this comm you're probably not going to go into a shock build. But it's always nice to have boost to this stuff. You know, dots. This is kind of like flicker in a way, and it just helps shock dots more than the other ones. But boosting your slag chance is not bad at all. That's always helpful. So there's that. Strength 5 gorillas, melee damage for you and your death trap. For death trap is awesome. For you, it's kind of meh. Unless you're doing a melee build, then I don't. Maybe this is the comm to use for that. I'll have to look through other comms. And then smaller, lighter, faster increases your reload speed and decreases your magazine size. This boost is also really nice. Mainly because that magazine size doesn't really go up that far, but your reload does, which is really sweet. So skill-wise, although this is kind of weird and all over the place, it's pretty solid. I don't remember what I said about this last time. I should have watched that video, but I didn't want to make myself repeat that. So yeah, not a bad comm at all. You're kind of stuck going down here, but you do a lot of builds anyways, because a lot of times you're not going that far down here. So yeah, first comm off the bat is a pretty solid one. It could live with being a 5 skill and get some more passives. I think that could have worked with her. Although I do like the double cooldown and just make sure Death Trap is out more often, because that will severely reduce that 60 seconds. Next, we will go to the Slayer comms. Let that fall out. Now, I never liked the Slayer comms, as you guys have seen in 5 of these already. And this one is a little bit different for one reason. Man, I go from a cough to a hiccup. The burn damage is always stupid. The ignite chance is always stupid. The max health is always dumb because it's kind of like ant damage and it's outside of the equation. Therefore, any health skills that you have, like potent as a pony, won't multiply that because that will be added after those skills. And it has nothing to do with increasing burn and ignite chance. It's just really dumb passives, and I despise them. So, on the skills, we have Fancy Mathematics, which is really awesome. So that's a plus. It's a lot different, as you can see from our other ones. In fact, I'm just gonna skip everything else. This, I believe, is the only comm that boosts pre-shrunk Cyberpunk, allowing you to get to an insane level of anarchy stacks at plus 450, and this you get up to 150. So that's 600 anarchy stacks you can get to with this comm. So this is pretty much used because of this and this alone. But Evil Enchantress is not bad at all. This can really crank up your dots. Interspersed Outburst is, pretty nice, but boosted is really awesome. Meta Sterner stuff I don't love, so that'd be the one downfall, but Fancy Mathematics is a badass skill. So this comm is actually the best out of all of these, probably, because it doesn't try to copy the other one. Although, I don't like Meta Sterner stuff. And the other thing is you're little... If you are going to go down and get this, you're kind of limited, but... Because if you're getting interspersed, you're probably going to get Make It Sparkle. And... Well, if you don't want Nth Degree or Death from Above, you don't have to go very deep here, so then you can get down there. So yeah, maybe... It's not that bad to use, but going into some of the shock stuff... Yeah, it's good. It's the best of the Slayer comms. I still say I'm annoyed as fuck, because if you change the passives on this and make these all plus 5s, Then your Anarchy stacks can go even 50 higher, which is kind of fucking cool. And yeah, maybe just change fancy mathematics. But either way, it's the best out of the Slayer comms, I would say, because it's the only one that really has a purpose. Alright, so the legendary Anarchist. Plus gun damage, minus accuracy, which kind of goes with Anarchy. And 56% is nice, but because that's additive and Anarchy's additive, it does get a little bit lost in there. And making your Anarchy worse, or your accuracy even worse, is kind of something. But boosting smaller, lighter, faster again kind of makes sense for an Anarchy comm. Typecast is going to be pretty damn nice as well. That will really crank you up. Strength of 5 to gorillas. I don't see where that really fits in this one. Unstoppable force boosted is really awesome, because you are going to be fast as fuck, and the shield regeneration is, again, awesome, especially on dots. And dots, once again, are the most dangerous thing in endgame. And then Myelin. This is where I get confused with this comm. So it's an Anarchy comm, and going to get a survival skill is cool. Getting a second one to get more shield capacity on top of it, but then the melee, I just start to get confused by it. It doesn't really seem that focused. It's still really good. You're going to be able to stack really fast with Typecast, which makes it really good for Discord looping, or just building up Anarchy faster. Smaller, lighter, faster boosted is really sweet because the magazine size is not that bad, but the reload speed is amazing. It's just, strength 5 gorilla seems like a waste. And 2 shield skills when she already has blood-soaked shields. Boosting these both seems like really overkill. Because you're going to get blood-soaked shields pretty much all the time. That's such a good skill. You're dumb to miss it. So, yeah, it kind of makes like putting 5 points into Myelin a waste. And you throw in 1 death trap skill, and yeah, like I said, I just don't really get it. I think skills are a bit of a mess. If we compare this to the regular Anarchist, it's also odd because the regular Anarchist has completely different skills. Death from Above, Annoyed Android, and Fancy Mathematics. And this one has all different skills, but it shares the same name, which is also odd. So I don't get really any of that, and I think this could have been a lot better. But the challenge with Anarchy ones, you really can't boost this. Boosting this is kind of, you're right on boosting that. Maybe this should have boosted pre-shrunk. I don't think Nth Degree is boosted by anything, which is kind of sad. You don't really want to go to shock skills with that. I mean, the better half would have been awesome because this is kind of your gun comm. Instead of 5 gorillas, better half, and instead of Myelin, I don't know. Maybe some cooldown. I'm not sure what would work better than that, to be honest. So maybe that's part of the problem. You're kind of a little stuck there, but it's a good comm. But like I said, I don't think it's really as well designed as some of the other legendary OP8 ones we saw, or UVHM Pack 2 ones, I should say. The Catalyst. This is her team one, and the team elemental effect damage is probably one of the weaker team boosts out there. It might not be the weakest, but it's definitely not one people really beg you to wear, like the Hoarder, or extra critical hit, or team cooldown. So it starts off a little bit there. But this is your shock one. And what I like is it stacked all the skills in this tree, and skill-wise, this one kind of nails it, actually. Especially after the patch, this was really made a lot better. So more pep boosted is pretty important here because you want to be able to put out a lot of dots, because this is about kind of increasing dots. And that's where the fact that it does increase elemental effect damage is kind of cool for yourself. Your teammates might not be that excited about it, but she is. So you're boosting the chance here and the damage on the comm. Electrical burn boosted. I'll just grab some points here. 40% chance is pretty damn good. And then Evil Enchantress, you're getting your elemental effect damage even more. And remember, the burn dots are based on the shock dot damage, so by boosting the shock dot damage so high, that fire dot is really huge. Then Wires Don't Talk at 30%, which also boosts the dot. Separate from this, you're really actually cranking up that dot damage a lot. And like I said, Outburst Boosted is pretty sweet because it becomes a lot more reliable at slaying, and it is extra damage. So this one was a little bit weak before the rank skills got fixed. Now, these weren't rank skills, but just for the fact that like Shock Storm and Shock and Awe are a little bit better now, and they fixed Wires Don't Talk where it hit shock and the dots, really made this better. And I wouldn't really change much about this, because I really sorry about that. I don't think I would boost Shockstorm over any of these. Like, more pep you definitely want to boost in this. Yeah, you definitely want to boost both Burn and Enchantress. You definitely want Wires Don't Talk, and Outburst is pretty sweet as well. So it's pretty well focused, and I think the patch really helped this comm. Now, to compare it to the other regular Catalyst, just because it's legendary, the effect damage goes up slightly. You're not going to really notice that 3%. And that one hit Wires Don't Talk, Evil Enchantress, and Shockstorm, which they removed Shockstorm, which is actually smart. And yeah, picked up 3 really good skills to boost to it. So I'm now a pretty big fan of this. And I think Poetic Nova has a... or who was that? X-Manager was talking about Nova's Catalyst build that's been working pretty well. I don't have a link to that, but I think she's got it in the forum, so you can look that up. Next is the Robot Tier. Cooldown, which is smart. This is your Death Trap one. Now, my big problem with this one before was the melee damage, or one of my problems with it. The melee damage is for Gaige, not Death Trap, and that is a massive mistake for a Death Trap comm. You want to boost his damage. Skill-wise, Potent as a Pony kind of makes sense for this, and boosted, get his health up there. And then with Upshot Robot, you know, that's not boosted, of course, but just with his health, he's got a better chance of staying out. Made a Sterner stuff here does make sense because you're increasing his melee damage, and the reduced damage helps him stay out longer, and hopefully he's getting a lot of kills with Upshot so he can stay out for a long ass time. More cooldown makes sense. Strength of 5 Gorillas. Again, increasing his melee damage so he does more, and then increases speed. So this one is pretty well focused. The big problem there is the melee damage on the class mod is not his. But I guess if you're doing a melee comm, would this be it? I don't know. Maybe. Because he's out, he's doing a lot of melee damage. You're boosting Strength of 5 Gorillas and your melee damage. So this might be the melee comm. I guess I should look at Dame Knight's build to see what he used. But I think it was a little harder on this one the last time I did it. Outside of the melee damage, it's not terrible. But that's just kind of annoying. But it is pretty focused on the skills. You know, hitting all skills that hit Death Trap. Doubling down on the cooldown here between the comm and the skill, that's smart. It's really just the other passive. But I should say, it does very little for Gaige. Oh, that one went over the edge. I guess I'm never getting it back. Bye, comm. Man, that flew really far. Alright, so let's go into the purples. I'll just go in order as they are here. The Punk is fire rate, 27. Minus more magazine size. I'm not a fan of when she's already minus a lot of magazine size. Especially when you're boosting the better half, which only reduces it by 8. But now when you're adding another 27%, I don't know. And 27% fire rate is pretty solid. I don't think Annoyed Android makes any sense here. Because if you're going to boost one Death Trap skill, it's probably not Annoyed Android. Although it could be a 1-point wonder, you put 1 point in and get 5 points. But it should be, you know, Strength of 5 girls, you're trying to balance it out. But with better half being boosted, that's a lot of extra fire rate. But you're reducing your magazine size so much with this that you're gonna get a lot less of that, which sucks. So this comm is all about fire rate, which is cool. If you're gonna do it, I would get a blue one without Annoyed Android and get 5 in here and 6 in here. Really go all about speed. But the other thing you want to worry or be careful about with fire rate builds, a lot of times people tend to try to do them along with like Vladoff guns and fast guns. That's kind of a mistake, because what you're gonna do is you're just gonna get so much fire rate that you are gonna get really high DPS, but your ammo consumption is gonna be so much you're just gonna run out of ammo. And too much fire rate, Nisha sometimes suffers from this in the pre-sequel as well. Too much fire rate as your answer just leads to ammo issues. So if you do this, you're kind of better off with slower firing guns. That way you have less ammo issues sometimes, but because she has Anarchy and she can crank her damage up, that's good and close enough so hopefully you're missing less. But sometimes too much fire rate is really good on paper, but in actual gameplay just leads to ammo issues. The Technophile, shield capacity and recharge rate is cool, although recharge rate when you got blood-soaked shields is a bit, can be redundant. Although on raid bosses and times where you're not always going to be able to get a kill as fast, it is very useful. So it's not pointless on her, but yeah, that combined with fancy mathematics, you are going to have insane shield recharge and delay. It's going to come back fast. When it comes back, it's going to get up fast, which is awesome. Strength of 5 gorillas, like I said, if you're going to just do one Death Trap skill, this is probably the one. And interspersed. So this is another one that doesn't seem to be focused at all. You have 2 shield passes, a shield skill, a Death Trap skill, and a slag skill. It just seems really random and thrown together. And I like class mods that are really like focused and make sense and have a purpose. So I'm going to toss that up and I'll be right back. Next up we have the Prodigy, which is a comm I like quite a bit on her. Weapon accuracy is really cool because it helps counterbalance Anarchy, allowing you to run more stacks and stay more accurate. Reload speed is always sweet, and between that 38% and your natural 24 there, you are looking at well over 50% reload speed, which is really sweet. And then the skills are pretty awesome too. So the better half here at 10 out of 5 is really crazy. I'm a big fan of that. Cooking up trouble, like I said, I think this needs to be higher, so boosted kind of helps that. And that makes that really solid. And then unstop, or why is it doing that? More pep is definitely not bad boosted. I mean, it's only 18%, but anytime you're boosting your slag chance, it's pretty cool, even if it's not that high of a number. So you could go with a blue one and skip this, and then just go all in, +6 here, and then +5 there. And this is a pretty damn solid combo. I think, especially if you're leveling up and you don't have access to the legendary ones yet, like this would be a really sweet combo to find. The Anarchist, I kind of briefly overviewed this with the legendary, or just kind of listed it, but again, your accuracy minus, but more gun damage, so it really embraces anarchy. But this one, Annoyed Android, Death from Above, and Fancy Mathematics, I really don't like this that much. Annoyed Android has nothing to do with anarchy, and again, if you're going to have one death trap skill, it probably should be strength. Death from Above is still not that great because it consumes so much anarchy. It's viable, but I don't love it there. And then Fancy Mathematics is awesome, but as a comm here, usually you have like that one really awesome skill that you want to get for a good comm, then a secondary backup, and maybe a third throwaway that you can maybe go purple or skip that and go blue. This one kind of has 2 throwaways and one decent one, and then some nice passives. But I think that makes for a pretty bad class mod. Jill of all trades. Assault rifle gun damage and magazine size both increased. And the magazine size will help counteractive the why is it doing that? Smaller, lighter, faster. I have no idea. More pep again. It's skippable unless you like. The only time I really do this, and you're going hardcore for a shock build. And then the better half, which is pretty sweet. The disappointing thing on this one is my favorite assault rifles are Jacobs. This is a really personal thing. I have a Becca build I do with Gaige, and just looking at the passives, you're like, all right, this could be pretty cool. Because one of the weaknesses of Jacobs ARs is they kind of have a small magazine size, where most ARs actually have a really big magazine, so boosting it can kind of be overkill. That's one dumb thing about Axton being the quote-unquote assault rifle character. His one assault rifle skill is a magazine increase, which is kind of unneeded on ARs. Gun damage is nice, but it is additive with anarchy, so it can get lost. But then you're just... I mean, I guess on most ARs, this would be awesome for the better half, because most ARs have a pretty deep magazine, and then increasing them even further, you're going to have that fire rate for a long time. And then smaller, lighter, faster. When you reload them super fast. But more pep doesn't make sense there. So yeah, you could do a blue comm with this if you really like Vladoff assault rifles. You could probably do a pretty cool build with. Maybe like bandit assault rifles. I often defend assault rifles, but I have a hard time defending a lot of bandit ones. This would be really sweet with Torg ones, because Torg assault rifles, like the Ogre's got a massive magazine size. With this, it'd be huge, and then you really up its fire rate and just shred things. That'd be pretty fun as well. I just wish it worked a little bit better with Jacob's ones. But the better half is a good skill for all other magazine or assault rifles, and increasing its magazine size to go with that is pretty smart. So not bad. It's just more pep, but then you just get a blue one to skip more pep and go 6 and 5, and it's pretty good. The wired catalyst said this blue one kind of sucks because Shockstorm isn't what you want boosted. Evil Enchantress and Wires Don't Talk are both really good, so if you are going to use this and you don't have a chance to get the legendary one yet, I would just do a blue one, and I would do 6 points on Wires Don't Talk and 5 points here, and just skip Shockstorm. The Zapper. So this is electrocute damage, which is only dots, and then chance to shock to cause shock dots, and then more pep. So with all that, your chance to put a shock dot on them is pretty damn high. And then getting electrical burn and Wires Don't Talk. This is a pretty well thought out combo. I would. Ugh. But yeah, Evil Enchantress really cranks up that dot damage. But this actually does increase shock dot. So yeah, this is pretty well thought out actually, especially now that the shock tree, that one way the fuck out there, has been revamped. That one's definitely going to. I would use that over the catalyst actually if I didn't have access to the legendary. I think I'd have to run the numbers, but you're still hitting Wires Don't Talk, which is the most important one. And electrical burn, getting all those dots out there more often might be more important than boosting the damage here, because the class mod is also boosting the damage and then increasing your chance to do it. It's not bad. What do we have next? The Roboteer. Cooldown and melee. Oh, again, the melee is for you, not Death Trap. Strength of 5 gorillas makes sense. Potent and sterner stuff both kind of make sense. The legendary you gained Cooler and Annoyed Android. So if you want to do a Death Trap build before you have it, it's kind of well thought out. Not bad. Yeah, going back to the legendary one, I wish the legendary one would have given you 4 Death Trap skills than just something thrown in for Gaige. I know some of those kind of share with Gaige, but not that much. Superior Sweetheart, Team Max Health, which is, once again, probably one of the worst team skill ones, because the max health on these, again, is outside the formula, and not everyone wants more health anyways. So yeah, Gaige definitely got the short end of the stick on that. More pep, again, this is boosted by too many comms. It's kind of the go-to one for Gaige. It just seems like half the comms boost this. And then Cooking Up Trouble, the better half. It seems like there's another comm with those same skills. Did that go off the edge? Cooking Up Trouble, the better half. I might have gone over the edge. I swear another purple comm had those same ones. Is that it? But yeah, it just doesn't seem to make any sense. Yeah, I don't really dig it. I mean, the skills aren't bad, but again, more pep is just overused. You can do a blue one with these 2 skills, but I feel like we've already seen that with a better passive that I threw off the ledge that I can't seem to recall right now what it was. God, I swear one had that. I'm just double checking these. More pep, better half. Yeah, I don't know where it went. Maybe it landed on a ledge. Nope. Gone forever. Should have been throwing them this way. So yeah, not bad skills there. It's just kind of generic. And then you have her Tiny Tina combos. Now, you can get all sorts of different boosts on these for the passives. I just put the evil because most people like that. critical damage and fire rate, but in hindsight, probably don't want critical damage on Gaige because you're not going to hit crits that much. You'd probably want like a magazine size to help counteract some stuff. No, depending on the guns, sometimes you want like a 1 or a 2 shot so you can build Anarchy faster. So yeah, increases melee damage for you and Death Trap. Although I think if you do the melee damage with this one, that's when you can do the Infinity build with her. Strength of 5 gorillas, made of sterner stuff, and wires don't talk. Seems pretty random. Wires don't talk. If you're gonna go into that, you kind of want to go all in on the shock. And there's 3 other comps that are better for that. The legendary catalyst, the was it the evil enchantress? What the hell's the name of that? Not the technophile. Did I throw that one off the edge too? Yeah, the zapper, the legendary catalyst, or the regular catalyst. Yeah, and strength of 5 gorillas. I said if you're gonna go one random Death Trap one, that's good. But made of sterner stuff seems like kind of a waste. So yeah, this one's... I mean, if you really want the passives, would be the reason you use this. I wish they would have done some better skills with it, even if it was like Cooking Up Trouble, or The Better Half, Fancy Mathematics, Upshot, or Unstoppable Force. Because made of sterner stuff, I just don't think is all that great. Wires Don't Talk is really specific. And Strength 5 gorillas, that's a nice kind of neutral one, so you can go into a lot of builds around it. A lot of Gaige builds throw this in there for good reason. Yeah, because boosted, up to 30% more melee damage for you in Death Trap, mainly for Death Trap. But yeah, I don't think it's as bad as Maya's. I think Maya definitely got the short end of the stick on those ones. But yeah, it seems really I guess these ones, they have to be somewhat, because of the passives, the best way to do those is have them really neutral with the skills, so you can kind of do anything. So Strength of 5 gorillas is good. But again, it's missing that skill you really want, other than Wires Don't Talk, which is that skill. But the fact that it doesn't boost any other shock skills means you're better off going with a shock comp for Wires Don't Talk, so that kind of makes it a bad skill to have on it. Not that it's a bad skill, once again, just a bad skill for this comm. Yeah, and this is kind of a throwaway one where you'd probably not get it and do a blue comm instead, but what are you... a blue for Strength of 5 gorillas? I mean, that's not really that good of a skill where you want to +6 in that and have a focus on that. I guess you could kind of do a Death Trap build with this because it's getting 2 Death Trap ones, but yeah, I don't think it's that greatly focused. So I think I was a little kinder to her on this run than I did on my original one, but the patch did help some of those skills, so that made it a bit better. But those are Gaige's class mods. I'd pretty much, for the most part, look at using the legendaries. I kind of want to have fun with a Jill of all trades. Maybe like an Ogre. I could see that in an Ogre build just being a hell of a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of other like slow ARs that could be really awesome with that. What was the other one I really liked? At the Robot Tier. Not that. Was it the Prodigy? Not the Punk? Sweetheart. I think it's another one that went off the end. But yeah, that is all of those, and a little bit of review of what or a reaction to some of you guys' comments. So hope you enjoyed, and I have a few more Gaige videos to put out to follow up with these. I want to do a more in-depth look at the nth degree, and I want to do some math around Wires Don't Talk, and talk more about neutral elements versus elemental boosting. I think that could be interesting. So I'm not necessarily going to do those back to back after this. I'll probably do another The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for the pre-sequel, and maybe hit up 1 or 2 other videos in between those, and not just do 4 in a row. But I will follow up with a few Gaige ones, and maybe if I find a comm, like, maybe I'll do an assault rifle Gaige without a Jacobs assault rifle, and play around with her AR comm. That might be fun. Because I do like a hell of a lot of assault rifles in this game, so. But the ogre seems too obvious. I want to find something a little more unique and try to figure something cool out. So yeah, look forward to that maybe. But as always, thanks for watching, everyone. I greatly appreciate it. As always, if you have not subscribed yet, I appreciate it if you do. And my subscriber counts have been really popping up nicely since I came back, and that's pretty awesome and encouraging to see. You guys can also follow me on Twitter. Always trying to be a little bit better about posting more there and be more involved, so you guys should be there. Posting like real life stuff and all that. You guys get a little more insight to who Dirge is. Although, be warned, I am a very political person, and I put a lot of political things on there sometimes. It goes in streaks, but and I am extremely liberal, so in case you guys didn't know that as well, that stuff will fall into my Twitter. I try to keep it out of my YouTube for the most part, but it will be on my Twitter. You can also follow my Facebook group, where there will be no political stuff. I keep that out of there, and yeah, that's where the main places you can find me. So thanks for watching once again, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.